Well, hello everybody. Dave Fennoy here. It's Wednesday, and that means Ask Dave Fennoy Anything. Of course, it didn't mean that the last 3 weeks. Couple of weeks I had an excuse. Last week, I was just sick. I went to New York, spent some time with my grandson for Grandparents' Day, and around all those kids in that school, a bug got me. I'm usually really good. I'm usually the guy. I love kids and all of that, but I'm usually the guy. If I see a kid that's sneezing or a bunch of them, I kind of go the other way because I know, school teachers have to build up their immunity, and when they start, they get sick a lot. And when grown-ups get around kids and they haven't been around them for a while, you get sick, and I got sick. But I'm back, and for the first time in a long time, the cold got in my throat. I'm usually able to keep it out of my throat, but it got in my throat, and this guy was terrible. Still managed to find some blocks of time where I could work. And I'll tell you a little bit about how I do that. One, I try to cough as little as possible. Lots of fluids, lots of tea, lots of honey with lemon. And lots of resting your voice, lots of not doing anything. You got a cold, it's getting in your throat. You want to drink as many fluids as possible, and definitely tea. As a matter of fact, you don't even need the tea. You need the hot water, the lemon, and the honey. And that's what saved me. And on the days where my voice really wasn't up to it, I still found ways with hot water and tea to get to a point where I could work for, 20 minutes, half an hour, an hour. And that got me through some auditions that I actually booked. So, also, I don't talk about all the work that I do. I had a gig today. I'm not going to tell you exactly what it was. It's going to be for a cartoon, but I got to work at a studio, United Recording, here in Los Angeles, and you walk through the door, and there are pictures of Frank Sinatra. Just everybody you could imagine. Nat King Cole. Everybody you could imagine that recorded in that studio. I was working in a huge studio. There were orchestras and whatnot in there, and just being in a place with so much history, sometimes I'm just happy to do what I do. All right, let's get your questions going, because that's what we're here for. Ask Dave Fennoy Anything. Camilla, hello. Mark, what's going on, man? Love your posts. Randy Morrison, good to see you. And Dave in the house, hope you're feeling. Yeah, I am feeling so much better. Dahlia, hey, how are you? Jason, Nathan, Debbie George, Stephen Johnson, and the list is growing. Jeff, Adam, Jade, Amanda, get your questions ready. I had a question from somebody the other day. People, and I've mentioned this before, people will send me their demos and ask me to critique them. Generally, I'm fine with that. It's not something I charge anybody for, but you'll have to wait until I get to you. Sometimes it takes me a day or two or three or week. But this young lady sent me her demo, and she said two things. Well, one, can you critique my demo? And I have gotten an appointment with an agent, and I want to know what to say to this agent. Well, the first thing I did, I critiqued her demo, and clearly it was good enough to get her a meeting with the agent. So she did a couple things, right? One, she had somebody else produce it instead of herself. She was herself. The reads were really good. But what I didn't like about her demo, it was a commercial demo. It did not have enough variety of types of businesses and products. And I was surprised. There were like 3 food commercials right in the beginning. Then there was something else. And Just not enough variety. There are so many businesses out there, so many kinds of commercials. And when you're putting especially your commercial demo together now, pay attention to the ads that you're seeing on television, that you're hearing on the radio. And yes, I know there's a certain group of people of a certain age that don't spend a lot of time on television anymore. They spend their time on YouTube or Netflix, or, I do some of that myself. But the advertising community is still advertising. It's still the open door. It's still the way most agents are going to check you out. So pay attention. I'll just give you a little list of some of the things. There's the food industry. And when you talk about the food industry, you could be fast food. You could be grocery stores. You could be individual products. There's the auto industry. And when you're talking about the auto industry, you're talking about car dealerships. You're talking about national commercials for different kinds of cars, being that spokesman. And the aftermarket, the places that sell parts for cars, big industry. Cosmetics, hair products, facial products, dieting products, although for men and women, or I should say for women and men. The tech industry, we're talking computers, we're talking programs, we're talking anything new that's coming out, a new way to do this, that, or the other. I'll even include video games in that. Retail stores, national retail stores, local retail stores, the financial industry. We're talking banks, we're talking stocks and bonds, we're financial plans for your savings. The health industry, appliances, refrigerators, stoves, fuel, gasoline. I mean, there's still gas stations out there, and they are still selling gas. I'm not sure how much longer, maybe a few more years. Home improvement, apparel, toys. The list goes on and on and on. So don't make your commercial demo boring with just a few different categories or a number of categories, shoes, sports shoes. And depending on what your age is, what your voice type is, you'll lend yourself to some more than others. But one of the ways to really make yourself sound different when you're still trying to sell your signature voice, because you want people to recognize you. When you're still trying to sell your signature voice, how can you sound different? Well, different product categories. Some are going to be upbeat, some are not, some are going to, the music is going to change, but just a little word to the wise. I'm going to get to talking with an agent when you're in a interview, when you've been called in. And this works for, maybe it's your first agent or maybe you're changing agents. Anyway, let's see. Hi, Dave Fennoy. I don't know if anyone has already asked you this, but can you tell me what the standard daily rate is for video game voice artists? It's $800 and some odd right now, and I really should know that because I sign enough contracts. But it's in that range, and the gaming industry has come to the table and signed with SAG-AFTRA. So there are also bonus payments depending on the sales of the game. And if you've been around and done enough games and are in demand enough, you can command double scale. And there are some people out there, usually celebrities, that might make more. So if anybody's offering you anything less than $800 to do a job on a game, don't. All right. Hang in there. You're a class act, bro. Thank you, Randall. I appreciate that. Hey, Mara, Aaron, what's going on? Oh, let's get those questions in here. Well, since there's not another question just at the moment, let me talk about that. Whoa, wait a minute. I think this was a long one. Dre's, what do you think might be the biggest reason that I'm not getting not even one single job after 300 auditions? I have purchased your classes bundle, also Bill DeWeese's classes, and took classes from Tim Tibbetts about Adobe Audition Audio. However, not booking at all. Just can't figure out what I might be doing wrong. I'm not bitter, just trying to learn. Thank you very kindly, sir. I'm going to give you a couple things that are outside of you and a couple of things that may be inside of you. Outside of you, there are a lot of people knocking on these voiceover doors now. There's more work than there's ever been, but at the same time, more people are knocking on the doors. I would ask you, what are your auditions like? What are your demos like? How good is your website? Have you branded yourself well? When people come to your website, do they find a professional-looking website that gives them confidence in that they can hire you? It's funny sometimes. We are really in the advertising business, and yet so many of us don't use the tools of advertising as much as we can. There's an old adage, you can have a mediocre product with the right promotion and it'll do great. And you can have a great product with no promotion or poor promotion. It's not going to do as well. You've got to get your product in front of enough people. I don't know how you're promoting yourself, Drazen. I don't know if you're going after business as well as perhaps doing the pay-to-play sites. The pay-to-play sites, you really need to learn how to work the system of the pay-to-play sites. There's a reason that they charge different rates for pay-to-play sites. Some of them you'll come in at, say, $300 or $400 a year. And then there's a $2,500 a year price and a $5,000 a year price. Well, the people who are paying more get more access sooner to better jobs. Also, if you're not auditioning fast enough, you're not going to be in the running. And if you're just one of those people, because they all say, oh, you can sign up for free, you won't be able to book anything if you sign up for free. I promise you. If you have an agent, 300 auditions, if they haven't dropped you already, they're thinking about it. I suspect, Drazen, that you don't have an agent. I would question what your auditions are like. How many auditions are you doing? In many ways, this is kind of like sales. If you've done 300 auditions, you should have booked at least 3, 1 in 100. So it makes me question, what are your auditions like? What's your sound chain like? Is your sound dirty? Is there hum? Is there buzz? Is there noise? I have students sometimes that have further to go to get to a career than others. Are you really ready to do this business? Sometimes you got to take a really hard look, and I applaud you for listening to me, listening to other coaches out there. Bill DeWeese is great. Tim Tibbetts is great. A lot of other great teachers out there. We can't spoon feed you and make you get it. I'll tell you what. Send me your demo. You can do it davefennoy.com or davefennoy@mac.com or on Facebook. I'd like to hear that and some of your auditions. What they asked for, what you gave them, just so I can kind of get an idea where you're coming from. What is it that you're doing or not doing that you're not booking? All right. Aaron, thanks for the class with VME. Recently, I learned a lot and enjoyed the class. Yeah, I had a chance to go work with some veterans One, I shouldn't be surprised, but I was surprised by how talented so many of them were. I don't know what I expected. I probably was expecting people who hadn't done it before and were just kind of looking for something new to do. But and some were, but there were some really talented people, and of course, having served their country, you know, they're deserving of some help and a salute. Oh, you're welcome, Jade. Oh yeah, I'm doing well. I'm doing well. There are freelance sites out there as well as Upwork where you can find VO work. Most of the places you're looking for work, if you're not in the union, you're not represented by an agent or manager, are going to be the pay-to-play sites. But I would suggest doing a few other things than that. If you're interested in doing commercials for cars, per se, or the auto industry, I would go to some of their groups, some of the auto groups, some of the companies that sell parts or have big dealerships, and get in touch with them directly. You bypass a lot of other people if you take the time to do that. It's time consuming. I'm very fortunate. I've never had to do that because of when I started my career, and I've always been represented by agents. Now, early in my career, I found a lot of my own work, but it was TV promos and the kinds of things that I still do, and I imagine that's out there. But your best bet, Aaron, without agent, is to find a pay-to-play site that works for you. I can tell you one that won't, that I'm not a fan of, voices.com, that's been ripping people off for ages. They're just not quite crooks. You can't take them to jail, but they're stealing your money. Is it a good way to get your feet off the ground and start building real outside of classes? I don't recommend building your own demo reel. There's going to be somebody out there that does, and they'll be great at it, and they are the exception that proves the rule. But time after time after time after time, people will send me their demos, and I can tell right away, oh, you produced this yourself, didn't you? Well, yeah, it's pretty good, isn't it? Well, no. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you're not displaying that you have talent. What it does mean is our ears are attuned to hear things a certain way. And what we hear on television, what we hear on the radio, has been sweetened. As a matter of fact, that's exactly what they call it. It's a sweetening session, and they're adjusting your voice and mixing it with the music in a certain way, and adding a certain amount of compression, or they're changing your voice ever so slightly. You might not know that that's what you're hearing, because what they're doing is making it sound better, more natural in a really unnatural way. And the people who do their own demos, basically, they lay their voice tracks down, they put some music up underneath it, and that's it. They're not the engineers, they're not the people who know how to adjust this, that, and the other to make it sound like we expect it to sound. So you really need that. The $1,500 to $3,000 you're going to spend on a demo is worth the money. You're going to make that money back. Okay. Do you remember your very first VO gig? How did you prepare, cold or script in advance? Don't remember my very first gig. So let's talk about my very first union gig. I was a disc jockey in the Bay Area, and I finally got an agent. It had taken a long time, and it was a California lottery spot. And it was one of the first things I auditioned for, if not the first thing I auditioned for, with my brand new agent, Joan Spangler at Look in San Francisco. And I got that. Now, it was a great spot. It did well. I actually even won an award for it, a Jumbo Prawn Award. I don't know if they still have those going in San Francisco, but it was the advertising community. I never did pick up the hardware because I was going to have to pay for it, and I got to pay for my prize. But it still took a long time to get to the point that I was working regularly. Fortunately, I was a disc jockey, so I didn't have to worry about that. But I also did other jobs. At that time, there was a company, Megaphone, and it was back in the 976 number days, back when people would dial their telephones. And I was a voice of the Michael Jackson hotline and the Prince hotline. Excuse me, trying to hang on a little bit. And one of the things I also did for them was a call-in where people could get the lotto numbers when they were announced. They were announced on television. And this is late 80s. This is a world that, unless you were there, you have no idea how difficult it was. You have phones and you can find anything you want to know right now, just right in your pocket. But every Wednesday and Saturday, I think the lotto was going twice then, I would drive over to San Francisco from Berkeley, get there in time to watch the lottery on television, and then I had my prepared script. And the lotto numbers for today are 6, 5, 47, 53. Put it on a tape and get it up as quickly as I could so people could call and find out what the lotto numbers are. I also had a gig at that company, and both the Michael Jackson hotline and the Prince hotline, and the lotto numbers were the same company, Megaphone, where we did romance. So I was a romance voice, and you're telling a story, and you're saving this woman and so forth, and of course it becomes romantic at some point or another. So I was on the romance line. Those were some of the first gigs I had. There was a TV station up there, TV 20. It was a non-union station, and this is before I was in the union, and I was doing TV promos for them. And it was as many promos as you could do in an hour for $25 an hour. I was getting robbed, but I was happy to do it because I was learning and I was being heard on the air. Anyway, you're making me go back. Dang it, it makes me feel old again. Let's see. Do you fear that so many people getting into the VO can hurt the business? Nothing is constant except change. Everything is always changing. Hurt the business. The business has changed quite a bit. You can't make the money you once did, for a lot of ways. And it's not just because our business has changed. When you look back from, say, about 1980, from the time of Ronald Reagan, there's been a war on the worker. So they've been looking for ways to pay workers less and less and less and less. You look at the stats, the ownership class has had a 500% raise. The rest of Americans have not. They use let's pit this group against that group, and they're going to take your job, and they're going to take your job, and they're going to kill you. And to keep those of us who should be aligned with one another separated. And we're just a part of that. I remember going to negotiations for the union for TV promos. And the first thing, this when promos were, 210 plus or 215 plus 10, and we were trying to get 220 or something. And the first thing the negotiator against us said was, we really could get anybody to do what you do. So we really should only be paying you about $25 And that's where they start. You look at a company like a Walmart. Well, that still isn't paying its workers well. So we're living in that world. Hopefully that's changing. Hopefully some American workers are waking up and going to band together, join unions, and realize that when they say a right to work, it's right to pay you less. So I went way off track there from do I feel like the number of people getting in this business is hurting? I don't think it's the people. It's kind of the world we're living in. We've gone from most things being union to companies, advertisers that once were doing union are looking for ways to save money, pay you less, and they have found the pay-to-play sites. And the pay-to-play sites also are not on your side. They're on the side, they're working for the people who are hiring you through them. And the difference there with an agent, the agent only makes money when you make money. Excuse me. And the more money you make, the more money the agent makes. So your agent is always trying to get the best dollar for you that they can to earn the best dollar for themselves, that best 10% that they can get. Whereas this group of people, and I'll take voices.com. Somebody comes to them, I got $10,000. I'm looking for a voice to be my product. They'll put it out as a bid job. You bid $1,500, you win the job. I got $1,500. Ooh, well, actually, no, you're only going to get 10% less than that $1,500. Plus, they pocketed the rest of the money. We have was it Fiverr? So there's a lot of ways for people who want voices to get to voices. And because people look at voiceover as a very attractive career, and it is. I absolutely love what I do. And I don't begrudge them. I remember when I was starting, I took jobs that paid next to nothing, trying to get in. So the ability to reach people now is greater. So we have more people who are reachable. If you've got a Mac, a microphone, and a high-speed internet, you can be anywhere in the world. Never mind just the United States. So it makes it difficult to keep the prices up there. That said, there's still more work than ever before. And there are people who have learned outside of the realm of agents and unions to market themselves well, find a niche, and make a good living. And a good living isn't necessarily what we talk about a Don LaFontaine, the late great buddy of mine, Mr. Trailer, Mr. Drama promo for the networks, who was making $30,000, $40,000 a day. I'm not sure we're going to see that ever again. But there's a lot of work out there. It's a different work. Let's see. Let's go Raptors. Metallica was playing the national anthem at the game, by the way. Let's see. Thoughts on FICOR? Well, there's quite a few people that have gone FICOR. FICOR, if you don't know, is you have joined the union, but you have backed away from your voting rights. You still pay dues. You still get your medical, but you are allowed to do non-union work. And we're living in a world where FICOR is, a lot of people are doing it. Agents who were union agents now are doing both because people have to survive. Luc de Villars. Hello, Dave. I remember when some of us had a question and worries about computer-engineered voices. Well, it seems that Amazon Prime used these robotic voices for one of their shows. It has been dubbed in French here and are now and are now really concerned about this terrible issue. Ripping us off on the prices is one, but when I can afford. Of course, the result is terrible, but they tend to do this again in many other languages. What should we do against that? I'm not sure what you can do. I'm not sure what the battle is against that. That's a juggernaut that we may not be able to stop. I will say this, however. They're never actually going to get as human with that as we are, the nuance that we provide. I have heard some pretty good AI voices. As a matter of fact, I'm one of them on Google. But they don't get the real humanness. If they're just giving you instructions about this, that, and the other, maybe a commercial that's kind of bland, but they're not going to be what we are. There will always be that work for us. Some of the work that has come along in the last few years, instructional videos, those kinds of things, some of that may go away. Huge commercials, video games, cartoons, and we're getting into a thing now, what is old is new again. Audiobooks has given us now kind of like the radio drama returned, where instead of having just one narrator, now they hire a whole cast and recreate books with a variety of actors. That's work that wasn't there before, that is now. Well, those AI voices aren't going to do that. There's always going to be something for us, and sometimes we can't see what it is on the horizon. Let's not live in the fear of, oh boy, this is going to ruin our lives, and it's changing things. Some work may go away, but it ain't all going to go away. Hello, Isabella. Promoting and selling ourselves what Bill DeWeese is promoting out there line, and most of the important thing to know. Okay. I'm going to read that a little bit. Isabel, do you have any resources to recommend for learning optimizing workflow with Twisted Wave? There is a Twisted Wave group on Facebook, and I would wonder, learning optimizing workflow with Twisted Wave. Twisted Wave is so easy to use. You might want to send me a note here or later on. What kind of work are you doing that you're trying to optimize the workflow? Because it's quite easy to do. It sounds like maybe you're talking about doing audiobooks or something like that. Do you ever check for casting notices on IMDb? Do you just work with your agent, or is there more to do? Is there more to it? For me, it's agent. I have agents here in San Francisco and Seattle and Dallas and Atlanta and Florida and New York. So a lot of auditions are coming my way. I don't have the time to spend seeking out more of my own work or checking the casting notices on IMDb. That said, that's me. Nothing is to stop you from doing that same thing. A whole lot of actors get the breakdowns, pay for the breakdowns so they know what the auditions are and submit themselves when they don't have agents. There's nothing to stop you from doing that same thing, looking through the breakdown. Sometimes there are commercials and video games and cartoons or IMDb to do the same thing. So, Jade, I would suggest, do that. Hey, Youssef, what's up? Kimberly, what's going on? Hey, David, Cameron Griffith. Mostly learned the quirks of Twisted. Love it so far. I just want to know everything. You know what? You may already know as much as you need to know. It's a brilliant program. If you're going to be producing things, you need something else. because it's designed strictly for voice actors, and the idea being that we're going to voice something and send it. Yeah, you can do a little sweetening of your voice. There's compression. You can bring in lots of other programs to alter your voice, do what you need to do. But it's very simple. And for those who don't know, it's about $70, I think, still for your Mac, and I think still about $10 for your iOS devices. Now, I don't know what's going to happen here. Mac or Apple has decided that the iPad is going to get its own new operating system. I don't know how it's going to change that, but when I'm traveling, I'll take both my laptop and my iPad, and very often I'm just using my iPad because it's so simple. Hello, Susan. How are you? Bada, how you doing? Okay, back to this question that a young lady asked me the other day. She has a meeting with an agent. Her demo got her in. I think a lot of times when we get an agent, we are looking at it the wrong way. Your agent is working for you. Yes, the agent is going to be the one to decide to take you on or not take you on when you are starting out, but they are working for you. So when you go in to have an interview with an agent, don't just go in with the idea, okay, are you going to sign me? I hope you like my tape. You like my tape? I'll tell you what's going to happen. Probably you will be meeting with several people from different departments if there are. It might be a small boutique agency where one or two people are doing everything. But if you go to an agent like mine, CESD, there's a commercial department, a promo department, a narration department, games and animation departments, and different people there that you will meet and talk to. Chances are, if you've just sent in your commercial demo and they liked it, they liked your voice, they liked your read, they'll probably have a little critique for it. And they're probably going to try you out on some copy. So don't be surprised if you get in there and they hand you some animation and some game and some narration and some more commercial copy just to see what you do with it. And one of the reasons being, so many people are dummying up, Frankensteining together demos these days. People that have a nice voice, but can't sustain a 30, 60-second read. So the things that they've dummied up, especially for a demo, because you're not going to put the whole 30 or the whole 60 on there. So a lot of times I got this sentence from here and this sentence from there and this sentence from here, and I put it all together, nice music underneath, got somebody to, really sweeten the voice, and boom, there we are. I've turned it in. It sounds great, but I can't reproduce it in real life. And that happens more than you think. Don't be that person because you only get one chance to make a first impression. And if that's who you are, sooner or later, they're going to find out. And then that's who you are to the industry. So you want to not only answer the questions they're asking about do you have a regular day job? Can we get you going to auditions at any time, day or night? Do you have a home studio? What other areas do you want to work in? So forth and so on. You want to ask them the same kinds of questions. You want to let them know, well, this is where I am now. This is where I'd like to be. This is what I'd like to do. How is your video game department? How many auditions do you get? How's your animation department? Are you working with Disney? Are you working with, insert companies here? How long have your agents been working? You might not want to go that deep. You can do some homework and find that out beforehand. But you want to find out if this is going to be a really good fit for you. Um, Too many times I've talked to people that they got with an agent. They wanted to do ABC, but the agent mostly did XYZ. But they were so happy to get somebody that wanted to sign them that they signed with the wrong agent. And then over the course of the next year or two, they're not doing in the voiceover world what it is they want to do. They're not even getting the opportunities to do what they want to do because that particular agent doesn't do that. And I've had this conversation a lot. So make sure an agent has heard your demo, they call you in, make sure they're a right fit for you. This is kind of a marriage. You want them to be satisfied with you, but you want to be satisfied with your agent. Okay. Get in touch with Tim Tippett. He's a great audio engineer. If you want to learn, he can teach you. True. Tim is great. George Whittam is great. And once again, there is a Twisted Wave group on Facebook. That said, there's not a whole lot to it. It can do a lot of things, but it's very, very simple to learn. You know, one of the best ways to learn, and I'm not against taking classes and play with the doggone thing. Oh, what's this? What does this do? Okay, let me grab this piece of sound and try these different effects. Oh, what does this do? What does this do? What does this do? Play with it. You're not going to hurt it. You're not going to break anything. Experiment. Have some fun with it. All right. Let's see. Oh, Aaron, you are kicking it today. One thing you said to me at the VME class was for me to work on my self-confidence. I've been that, and I have been that, and I have an audition with Fennoy Hasbro for a video game. Oh, okay. There are some things that are, those intangibles. I was listening to an actor doing an interview today on a TV show that's going to be coming up. Young actor, you don't know his name, and I don't remember it. But he said something that I have said from time to time is, don't try, just do. When you're showing up for an audition, when you're doing your audition at home, that trying, that desperation, that, oh gosh, I hope I'm good, that those voices, those thoughts, those feelings are going to come through in your read. They're going to interrupt your truly communicating what needs to be communicated about that character, that audition, that TV promo, whatever it is. You may not know exactly what it is, but when you listen back, you'll know something's not right. And the people on the other end listening to it are going to know something's not right. It's like when you're a vegan and you're trying to sell McDonald's and you haven't had the conversation with yourself to say, okay, I'm selling McDonald's, but this is what I do. My job is to sell products, even products I am not interested in. So it's okay. I'm not doing anything wrong. And then you can do it. If you haven't addressed it with yourself, that, oh gosh, McDonald's, I'm selling McDonald's. I can't believe I'm selling McDonald's. I don't want to see the cows die. It's okay. It's not real meat. But yeah. There's an old saying, fake it till you make it. Even if you're faking it to yourself, you step in the booth and have that conversation with yourself to get over that fear, get over that wondering if this is going to be good enough, and paying so much attention to the words that kind of tension is in your read that makes people go, well, no, that's not it. That's not it. Relax. Be that character that you're supposed to be for that commercial, that video game, that cartoon, that narration, that e-learning, whatever it is. Let those demons go. You can bring them back later. Let's see. Jen Henry, what's up, girl? Tricky one, made a bad call in assembling a reel of an in-game audio. The Wince big house I sent it to was kind enough to advise me of the Reel's issues over product's mass performance and asked for other demos, crickets, follow-up, or have new studio demos done. So are you saying you had a demo done and it wasn't good? It had some problems? I'm assembling a reel of in-game audio. You did it yourself, I'm assuming. The big house I sent it to was kind enough to advise me the Reel's issues. Yeah, I would have it real if they're kind enough to say, this has got some problems. They're doing you a favor. And let me tell you why they may be doing you a favor, Jen. They may be doing you a favor because they could see the talent, but they were put off by the production. And a lot of people are going to not see the talent or ignore that there's talent there because there's plenty of other talent out there whose demo doesn't have an issue. So yeah, I would do another demo. I would get all of that cleaned up because you're going to want to send that out again, aren't you? Yeah, of course. It was in-game audio. Yeah, and sometimes, you go to Twitch, you go to YouTube to hear voices from video games. If you're somebody who's doing video games, all your stuff is there because all the gamers post their work. And once you've done the voices, you don't know what the video game company is going to do. Typically the big companies, they're not screwing it up too much, but there's some smaller video game companies out there. I've listened back to some things I've done, and what did they do to the sound? They're trying to get a particular feel, and if you don't know, if you're not in the game, if you haven't been given the parameters of what's going on, it just sounds like bad audio. And that's not going to be audio you want to use because you don't have a chance to explain it to everybody. Steve Bailey, what's going on, man? Nate Perkins, Ed Reynolds. Hey, how you doing? It was, actual work. Sometimes that can screw you up. You don't know what they're going to do with your sound files after you have delivered them. And sometimes it's weird. Someone sent me some sound files, it wasn't them, of the types of characters they want to play. And some of it was just bad. The acting was good, but you had to listen past the bad audio to get to the acting. Let's see, where are we now? Is that all the questions? I think it is. I don't think if you got something else, drop in. What was I going to mention? I was going to mention a couple of. For those of you who live in town, Backyard Jazz is back. I had to cancel. It was going to be on the 13th of May, and it rained. We are rescheduled for June 30th. So if you're in town and you get a note from me, sure would love it if you would buy a ticket and come. We support the Watts Willowbrook Youth Symphony. We'll be supporting some other youth underprivileged educational programs. And it's a really good time for an even better cause. A lot of fun. Backyard Jazz, you'll see some posts and information about it. Also, if you're interested in private lessons, you can go to davefennoy.com. Click on the Study VO tab. Next month, Scott Parkin and I are going to be going up to Portland and doing a Saturday seminar. I'm late fall, I'm going to be doing a workshop voice acting for video games here in town. There'll be more about that later on. Thanks for joining me this Wednesday. This is one of my favorite things to do. And I shall talk to you later at Ellen Dubbin. Come to Toronto. I would love to come to Toronto. Can you help me set something up, Ellen? And once again, I'm going to say that one of my favorite things to do is this, when so many talented people like Ellen and like Jen, pop in to join in and either ask questions and sometimes offer up some really good answers. I know a lot, but I don't know everything. Oh, and Steve Bailey, glad you're back and feeling better. Oh, thank you. Well, Drazen, you're very welcome. Well, that's going to call it. That's going to do it. Dave Fennoy, Ask Dave Fennoy Anything on a Wednesday. And I'll be back next Wednesday, the week of the 19th. I unfortunately won't be here. I'm going to Columbia to teach a workshop down there for that week. Looking forward to that. But I will see you next week. So all the best.